Hi students, we know that the First World War has been a very crucial point in the history of English civilization. We know that it is at the same time an important deadline of the thing which has happened before the First World War and the starting of some kind of new thing in our day to day life. We today have undertaken the poem entitled The Soldier by Rupert Brooke to discuss, in which we are going to think on war from the Rupert Brooke point of view. He is a war poet, but he has taken war very positively. The war poets have lighted on something negatives due to the war itself. That it has a very disastrous effect on our life, and most often you find that poet has talked about war in terms of futility of exercise. And when we think of war, generally we find that there is an image in our mind in which there is a death and killing and destruction. It is for this reason that war has never been discussed from the positive angle. Definitely, it is said that war does not yield to any positive result. It has always led to doom and disasters, not only for human being, but for the nature as well. But in the present poem that we are talking, the soldier, there is a speaker who speaks out through the soldier's mouth. Rupert Brooke himself is speaking through a soldier's mouth. This time, he has been successful in creating an atmosphere of positive thought around the concept of war. I am Dr. Naveen Kumar Jha, talking about the war not only from Rupert Brooke point of view, but I also add my own personal feeling about war, that we could have a better talk on the war itself. First of all, we should stick to the version of the poet regarding war that he has expressed in this particular poem. When we have a glance at this poem, we find that the poet seems to be glorifying England. No doubt, he was born in England, he was a British citizen, so he loved England. It is but natural, and it happens to all. All of us have a nationality, and we belong to that nation, and we feel proud of our nation. We also just wish to die for nation. And when it is the matter of a soldier, the moment he joins the service of army, he takes an oath to save his country even at the cost of his life. So it is what we can say is the very essential just pledge resolved in the mind of a person who joins army. Now, if there is no sense of pride for the country, army will not make himself ready to sacrifice himself for the country. He sacrifices himself all for the glorification of the country, and so is Rupert Brooke doing here. He is the poet who glorifies England during the First World War. And First World War has been very much a literary subject matter for the war poets and for most of the poets and writers and novelists and story writers to draw different angles of life and situation from the war, because it has very badly destroyed our thought process. So you came into the new world thought where we can discuss war as a subject. But here the poet is in the guise of an English soldier who is leaving home to go to war. And the soldier is mentally ready to go to war only when he is just all full with national pride. And so this is what the patriotic and nationalistic just vision is in his mind that leads him to go to fight for the country. So this poem is particularly full with patriotic ideals in pre-war England. And as you already know, especially in India, also we find that the death of a soldier during war or conflict is considered to be the noblest death. And we give all holy homage to the soldier. And at his altar, we are just bowing down to him. The place where he was born, that is England, is the noblest country to die. And all the soldier had almost the same thing, that he considers his country to be the noblest country for which he should die, and he dies as well. Now, here in the poem we find that the poet discusses two desires. The poem is written into sonnet form, so naturally it is divided into octave and sestet. Octave and sestet. So we find that the first stanza of the octave deals with his first desire. His first desire is that his grave should be in England. He loves his soil so much that he wants to be buried in England only, because he thinks that England is the purest country for him. And he is dreaming of dying for the country. He is dreaming of being buried in the country. Now the second stanza of the sestet deals with the second desire, that it is not a simple death for the country. Rather, death during war is just like death, which is to be described as redemption or salvation. It is the way to moksha. So he has given that death a religious height. We can say in our Hindu system, Hindu philosophy also, we talk about redemption and salvation to be the ultimate target of human life. Or it is also said that we are born and born or for salvation. Till we get salvation, we are born. So our soul is wandering through different births to get salvation and redemption. So the point is that how to get salvation, how to get redemption. And there are just religious ways as well. We can talk that there are religious teachers who are showing the way for salvation. They're all religious way of salvation. But here we cannot say that the poet is talking about anything which is religious. Rather, death during war for the country is itself a religious phenomenon. It is just an occasion of religious celebration. And it is the best kind of death which has been described in human history. We all die. It is all sure that everybody dies. But how to die and for what purpose to die is the thing that we should consider. Now, we think that we are born and we die are all the cycles which are going on. So, just we can say that natural birth and natural death, as it happens, is not anything special to talk about. But when you are talking about death during war, we can say, oh, it is a highlighted death. It is not an easy death that we should forget so easily. It strikes our brain time and again to celebrate this death religiously too. And we do not find that there is any death which is as noble and as pure as is death during war. So it has been described as just the noblest death. So the soldier, who is the speaker, just gives a reason. Why? Why should you die for country? It is not without any reason that he is talking. He says that his motherland gave beautiful and great things to the soldier, to the person, to the poet. It is why it is our religious and moral duty to live for country and to die for country. Our existence is all due to our country's support. Now, with birth, we find that country gives us grain to eat, air to breathe, which are the most essential just things to survive. And just we are taking care of the country. Naturally, our life is very much due to country. Moreover, we find that he describes that the poet has just taken into account the beautiful natural scenario of England as well. It is so beautiful that the poet wishes to die for the country. And so he is ready for redemption through the noblest sacrifice, that is, dying for the country. Now, here you find that he has just filled the heart of the people with all patriotic feelings and with all patriotic sentiments. This time we find that we are just reasonable enough in our way to describe our life, and we can say that it is always not easy to think in that way. Even we find that our countrymen are not simply ready to sacrifice their best for country. Although they are given everything by the country, but we have become reasonable enough. And although when we are thinking of the best sacrifice for the country, we cannot do that kind of thing only by being reasonable. We can do that kind of thing only by being emotional, only by being patriotic and nationalistic. So we are just arguing why to die for the country this time. And we think that we should not because we are just far away from our nationalistic duty this time. But for the poet like Rupert Brooke, it is enough that the country has given us all things that we need in our life. So we should be ready to die for the country. Now it is why just the country is known as our motherland. It is our mother, as mother rears us, as mother takes all tortures to give birth to a child, to rear the child. So is done by the country. Country takes all burden to support, to give everything to the person who is born there. So it is one of kinds of mother. And as our mother is just always worried for our existence, so is the country mother. So the speaker addresses the reader in the imperative sentence, think only this of me. Everybody should think. It is just like giving certain kind of suggestion or maybe certain kind of order that we should start thinking in terms of uh, just motherly sentiment. And if we think that this is just the land, a piece of land where we live, we cannot get our heart full with motherly sentiment. So the poet is stressing, the poet is just insisting on the fact that we need thinking of the country and of the mother. Keeping mother side before the country, we can come to the real thinking that our heart is full with love for mother. Likewise, if soldier's heart is full with love for the countrymen, for love for the country and love for the nation. So it is the romantic idea just to love our country and to die for the country. It is our duty also, nationalistic patriotic duty, and it is just a romantic way of looking at the thing. And then it gives us a kind of pleasure to die. Now, generally, you find that we are just mourning death, but the poet prevents us from mourning death because it is very much a romantic way of thinking about our death. We love dying for the country. So, when we love dying for the country, then there is no idea of remorse. There is nothing to lament. The soldier is happy to die, and when soldier is happy to die, we are happy, we love to die. Now we can say that it is the highest pleasure that we take from that death. So his suggestion is rightly said, not to mourn. And we can say that English dust must be richer. Now, we are also blessed. Soldier is blessed when soldier dies for the country, and just the dust where he dies becomes richer for the base sacrifice that soldier is giving for the country. So both are benefited. Just we have the highest pleasure to die for the country, and the country is also in the highest just what you can call and in the richest situation to enjoy, that the country has found such a brave and courageous son who does not hesitate to give his life for her. So mother is also happy to find this kind of son, and son is also happy to die. And his love for England, poet's love for England, is willingness to sacrifice. As to son's love for his mother is the main reason that he thinks that a soldier is ready for die. It is the matter of mother-son relationship, which is the purest relationship, we can say. And both are ready to sacrifice here. As you know, that mother sacrifices everything for the happiness of her child. So, child when grown up is also ready to sacrifice even his life for the mother. And it is what is the purest sense, romantic sense of talking about death. So we cannot say that just to die for the country is a foolish idea, as most often we hear this time people talking in that vein, that it is his duty, it is soldier's duty to die. Sarcastically it is said. There is nothing to more. But no, it is not the matter of death only. It is the matter of the saints which is working behind that death. We can say it is not simply the loss of the life. It is the loss for a purpose. It is the loss out of the love. It is the loss that people or soldier himself just invites. So it is in this way, it is very, very noble. Now, Georgiana imagery has been used into this poem because Georgian poets were known for frequent mediations in the English countryside. Now we can say that the poet has the greatest love for the country because England is the country of flowers. So just she has her way to Rome. It is all pure English air. So whatever natural landscape is there in the mind of the poet is enough to make him happy. Our natural world, which is prevalent in the country, is giving us the supreme happiness, sublime happiness that we like, we need. We simply cannot live without beauty of nature. Here we realize how important it is to be into natural beauty, and it makes our mind ready for all kind of romantic thoughts. So it is all the matter of attitude and the pride of the youth of the pre-industrial England that you find into this poem. And you find that it is soldiers' bravery and sense of sacrifice which are far better than modern soldier and warfare. We can say that before the industrial England, soldiers were just taking war in that way, that they thought that they are happy, that they are fortunate, that they are going to die for the country. But sometime back, I have already just explained that after industrial England, or just when we are looking at the modern soldiers' thought, the philosophy of warfare, which is more professional. Now, the sense of professionalism has been added there. Then we are talking about in terms of loss and benefit. But we can say that just the soldier before industrial England was not talking in terms of loss and benefit. It is all matter of benefit and benefit that we die for the country, because here it is the a consideration of only noblest way of living this life, and it was not the material calculation which was to be taken into account whether we should die for country or in what way we are benefited materially. So we can say that uh, the poet has described this country and compared this country with a mother. And secondly, we can say that he has also described his country, England, which is just like a heaven. And if there is any heaven, that is the motherland, where we are all free. Every freedom, human freedom, is given just all due to our motherland. So, a sense of beauty of his country is his identity. We are all identified, all due to our nationhood, and so we are Indians, so we are identified with India. So Rupert Brooke is just a British citizen, so he is identified just in terms of British norm and way of life, and ultimately we associate ourselves with the country, that it is the best place in the world where we live, and even heaven is not as good as our country. So the poet has described English as heaven. So in the final line of the first stanza, now nature has been treated religiously. It has been described in terms of religious significance. So the country age washed by the rivers. It is all the idea of purification of baptism and the blessed by the Son of Hope. So what a beautiful thought is here for the country. And we also say that our country, India, is just washed by the sea and the oceans. So how nice to consider. It is the matter of purification of the country. It is the matter of just making our country in between the natural surrounding, where nature is at the service of our country. Now we also find in the first stanza that just the soldiers thought of this world in England, and in the second stanza about the thought of heaven in England. And so he is talking the fact that England is a heaven for him. So just he wishes to die for his country, and there are many reasons to die for the country. And it is not the sorry feeling that we can find here, that soldiers have been killed, so this kill is a nonsense activity. It is just after the killing that we are talking, oh, it is the killing for nothing. But here the poet says that when soldier dies for the country, this death is to be described in terms of the best sacrifice, and it is just a salvation and redemption for that soldier. So there is no loss in terms of dying for the country. So here we find that it is a sonnet, so it has been divided into octave and sestet. And in the sestet, we find that there is a desire after death at war. We can say that it is just an imaginative picture also that we find here discussed. But he does not want to be graved into the foreign country. He wants to be graved here into his own country. And so in this way, he wants to become the part of an English heaven. His soul will give back to England everything England has given to him. It is what there is a religious binding between the poet and his country. So in the octave, dying for England is very nice, and it is just the best way to live this life, And let everybody think in that term that he should live his life for the country and in that particular manner.